everybody, welcome to our very first Community Helper Storytime here at the Twinsburg Public Library. Before we get started, does anybody know what a community helper is? Well, if a community is a place where you live and work and play, maybe a community helper is someone who helps you do those things. They might make us stay healthy, they might help us stay safe, they might help us learn. There are so many kinds of community helpers, and we will be hearing from some very special guests in the upcoming months who can tell us all about the important things that they do for our community. But first, for this week, we're going to read Whose Hands Are These? A Community Helper Guessing Book by Miranda Paul. And we're going to see what kinds of community helpers you might see where you live. Our story starts out. Hands can wiggle, hands can clap, hands can rap and flap and tap. But hands can help, so raise yours, please. Can you guess whose hands are these? What important things do these hands do? Let's see. Hoe and sow, these hands are soiled. Sweep and reap, these hands have toiled. In the barn, these hands are charmers. These hands belong to many. What kind of helper works hard in the fields planting food, maybe collects eggs from chickens, helps animals eat? These hands belong to many farmers. That's right. Farmers are very important community helpers. They grow the food that we eat. Next, choose, peruse, these hands are picky. Mix and mash, these hands are sticky. These hands flip through food-stained books. These hands belong to gifted. Who picks the food and mixes the food and makes the food? Cooks. Cooks help us eat too. They make sure we don't go hungry, right? Next, stop and go. These hands are waving. Catch that guy. He's misbehaving. These hands help us keep the peace. Hold yours up. It's the police. That's right. They help us stay safe. Quest and test. These hands are turning. Test again. These hands are learning. Weigh and count. Their work persists. These hands belong to... Who is using all of these tools? Brushes, brushing off things in the ground. Hands using a microscope to look at very, very small things. Using test tubes or scales. These hands belong to scientists. Scientists are very important. There are so many kinds of scientists, and they're all community helpers. Next, push and play. These hands are shaping. Wet with clay, these hands are scraping. These hands keep on adding water. These are the hands of one great potter, an artist who makes things out of clay. Taking notes, these hands are writing. Breaking story, how exciting! These hands can type or hold recorders. These hands belong to someone who interviews people, maybe writes down notes, types them up maybe into a newspaper or an online article. These are news reporters. They're very important community helpers who help us learn and understand what's going on in our community. Yank and crank, these hands are smeared. Ready and wrench, they've disappeared. When something breaks, these hands don't panic. These hands belong to... What community helper helps us fix our cars? A mechanic, of course. That's very important. We need cars to go places, don't we? Dream and sketch, these hands draw lines. Stack and build, they form designs. Measure twice, check all the specs. These hands belong to... Oh, this one is tough. Someone who designs buildings or maybe bridges, so many different parts of our community. They're architects. They're the ones who design what the builders build. Arms up high, these hands keep score. Throwing flags, they say, no more. Each hand signs and oversees. These hands belong to someone who helps us play sports and games. Referees. They help us follow the rules, right? Rub and scrub, these hands are clean. Wearing gloves, these hands are green. These hands all have healing missions. These hands belong to your physicians, your doctors. They're the people who help keep us healthy, right? Come on in, these hands wave sweetly. Caked in chalk, these hands write neatly. These hands care for kids and creatures. These hands belong to helpful. Someone who takes care of us, helps us learn, maybe writes on a chalkboard. Does that sound like somebody you know? These hands belong to teachers. They help us learn, don't they? Greeting, eating, dressing, sharing, cleaning, caring, or repairing. Let your hands try something new. One day, what could your hands do? What kind of community helper would you like to be? Maybe you'll be a reporter or the camera person who helps the reporter. Maybe you'll be a firefighter or a teacher or a doctor or a chef, a scientist, maybe even a pilot. They're all very important community helpers who are all part of our community. Wow, now that we know all different kinds of community helpers, maybe you can help me and my friend, the pigeon, decide what kind of community helper he would like to be today. So here on our felt board, we've got all different kinds of trucks and cars and vehicles that our community helpers drive. And maybe if we can find which vehicle our pigeon is hiding behind, maybe we can figure out what job he'll have today. So I'm going to take down our felt board, hide our pigeon, and we'll see what kind of helper he'll be today. Let's see. Let's see. What kind of helper is our pigeon going to be? Try. Let's see what kind of vehicles we have today. We've got a garbage truck that maybe a trash collector would drive. We've got a school bus that maybe a bus driver will drive. Who do you think drives a big red fire engine? What do you think? A firefighter. Maybe the pigeon's a firefighter today. Maybe he's a paramedic working on an ambulance. Maybe he's a pilot flying on a plane. Maybe he's a police officer driving a police car, or maybe he's a farmer driving a pickup truck. Where do you think we should look for our pigeon? What job do you think he'll have today? Let's see. Do you think he might be... I think the pigeon might be a trash collector today. Let's see if our pigeon is a trash collector today. Not today. Trash collectors are very important for our community, but not the job for our pigeon today. Maybe our pigeon, I've always wanted to be a pilot and fly an airplane. Maybe the pigeon is flying an airplane today. No pigeon on the airplane. Let's see. Do you think the pigeon should drive a bus? No, we don't let the pigeon drive a bus, do we? Maybe the pigeon is a paramedic or a doctor like me today. Let's see if the pigeon is a paramedic today. Not today. Where could this pigeon be? What kind of job is our pigeon going to do? Let's see. Do you think our pigeon is a police officer today? I don't think so. Is our pigeon a farmer in a pickup truck today? Do you think our pigeon is a firefighter today, keeping us safe? Let's see, is our pigeon a firefighter today? He is! The pigeon is driving a fire truck and is going to be a firefighter today. Well, I am very excited to meet some of our community helpers coming up, and I hope you'll join us at a story time celebrating all of our community helpers. But for today, we'll say goodbye to each other, and maybe you'll join us next time to meet our very first, very special community helper. Thanks, everybody.